it's me, Andy from Blitz Gaming. I hope you're having all a great day and getting ready for the weekend. We're going to take another look at Farcry. I said we're going to have a look at Farcry when I find a decent place to do some benchmarking in it. So I don't want to use the online benchmark. We're also using the RX6600 and today replacement of the RX480. We're going to be benchmarking Intel's 11400F versus AMD's Ryzen 5600G. They're similar, but not perfectly close. Ideally, would probably be better off with the Intel 11600, but I don't have 11600, so we're saying. But they've both got 6 cores, so it's reasonable. Clock speeds are a little bit different from each other, but not massive. One's got built-in graphics, one don't. Now, if I had the X version, not the G version of the AMD Ryzen, the X version does run faster in games. Just to let you know. Okay, let's benchmark Farcry 6, and we're going to do everything in 1080p. I may run 1440p test. Depends what mood I'm in. At the end of the day, I don't have a spare 1440p monitor, so it's a bit difficult. Okay, let's give it a run and see how we come out. Okay, we're running. Well, here's the 2 chips, 11400F versus the 5600G. Run one's at 2.6 gig and turbo's to 4.4. Where the Ryzen goes to 3.9 and turbos to 4.4. So there's a big difference, but we'll be running the 11400F at 125 watts, its maximum power, and 5600G will stay at 65 watts because we can't make it go to 125 watts. So it'll be a good fight. I mean, 11400F, if you got one and you're making it for games, you're going to be running at 125 watts. And as I said in the past, whatever you do, make sure you get a very good fan because it will hit 100C. So both got 6 cores and 6 threads, so it'll be good even balance. So here's the setups. Again, very even balance, just 2 different boards. Just to note, the 11400F will default to 3200 MHz memory. Because it won't accept 3600, but not a lot I can do about that. So we've got the 5600G, 1080p low settings. We're getting a good 110 frames a second, average 111, 112, 1% low down to 90. Can't complain too much really. It's doing very well. We switch over to the 11400F, and what we're doing, we're getting probably about 5 to 10 frames more than the 5600G. On the same settings. Now obviously there's 2 versions of this chip. One's an X, doesn't come with the graphics, and it's faster. Now we're switched over to medium settings on the 5600G. And we've gone down, 10 frames worse state scenario, and 1% low, 72, 74, not much different from last time, but we're still doing very, very good, can't complain. Now we're switched over to the 11400F, and you can see the settings haven't really changed much, or the frame rate hasn't really changed much from the low settings. And we're doing a good 20 frames more over the 5600G. Now we're on the highest settings on the 5600G. We're still in the 90s. 1% low is 80. It's actually better than what it was before. So can't complain too much. I mean, the actual thing seems to be running better at higher than what it did in medium. I have to say, looks great. Can't complain. Now we switch over to the 11400F. Again, we still got that 10 frames advantage on the Intel side. But as I said earlier, there is two versions of the 5600. One without graphics, and the one without graphics does go faster. And does come a bigger price tag. So now we're on Ultra 1080p with the 5600G. What are we doing? We're doing 85 average, 72 on a 1% low. I mean, you're not going to complain. At the end of the day, 1080p at Ultra settings. Okay, we've still got HD textures on, and the RX tracing stuff has not been turned on yet. Now we'll change out to 11400F again. And again, we still got that 10 frames advantage, basically. The 1% low is now dropping to the same sort of percentage. I mean, at the end of the day, both processors do well. You're not going to complain. The 600 or 600G does great playing this game. It's a brand spanking new game, 1080p at ultra settings. You can't complain. So now we've got HD textures turned on, RX shadows, RX reflection, and Fidelity FX super resolution. First, let's have a look at the HD textures. Personally, I can't see the difference between the HD textures than the standard ones. I don't know if that's a bug or it just don't show up very well at 1080p. Frame rate wise, we're doing what, 58, 60s, just over 60 sometimes, and 1% low down to 42 frames. We switch over to the 11400F, and yes, we still got a few frames, even up to maximum there, probably 10 frames still, some of that advantage over the 5600G. So we can't complain too much. I mean, still, we're talking 60 frames a second, 1080p, ultra, with all the RX stuff turned on. You ain't gonna moan at that. I mean, that started raining, so it's great for the RX reflections. But be honest, it's very hard difference between see with it on or off. Again, we've got FSR on turned on now. I personally think it gives a little bit of a fuzzy look. Frame rate wise, this is on the 5600G. It has gone up a good 5 frames, so can't complain. I think the picture quality is degraded a fraction, but that's my opinion. Otherwise, it looks fine. Can't complain. It runs fine with everything turned on. Now you can put VSync on, it cap out at 60 frames, and it does run smoother, and you don't get no screen tearing. Okay, before we get into the charts, don't forget this is on my machine, my system. Your system will be maybe a slightly different setup. You may get the same frame rate, slightly lower, slightly faster. It's all going to vary. at the end of the day from one machine to the next. So just take my settings in my video as the average. Okay, let's have a look at the chart. You can see Intel wins hands down, and as a bonus, the processor from Intel is literally £80 cheaper. And you're saying, well, what's the point buying 5600G? Well, graphic cards are hard to get hold of at this moment in time, and the reason why the 5600G is selling well, because it has a built-in IGP, and it has the best IGP on the market. So the graphic card, the cheapest graphic cards at the moment are between £85 and £100. So it goes around in a circle, really, what you want to have. Now they also do the the 5600X, which does beat the 11400F, but again, that's £280. And yes, it's faster. AMD want more money. Again, if I wanted to buy a processor now and I had a graphic card, I'd buy the 11400F hands down, because basically it's a faster processor and it's at a great price. Now, to make things awkward, Intel now released Alder Lake platform. And the Alder Lake platform, well, if we go by the 600K, that absolutely flies and annihilates both of these processors, hands down. But it starts off at £300. So again, yes, it's faster, but you're paying twice the amount of money than the 11400F. So the 11400F is still a great processor. Now, as soon as they release the 12400F, we will benchmark it and we'll let you know. But they haven't done that yet, and we'd have to wait. And to make things difficult, in possibly January, AMD will release the new 3D cache processors, just to make things, spice everything up. And again, we'll just see how fast and who's going to have the best platform at the beginning of next year. Okay, the other side of things we tested was the graphic card, the RX6600. I mean, it was a fantastic card. It plays well, especially on Farcry. This is the only game we've tested it on so far. We will do some more benchmarks on Farcry on the low-end processors with this RX6600. It's a great card. You get massive performance, and I reckon you'll be able to go 1440p with it. Okay, low end, but you'll be able to go on some games 1440p using low settings. But the only bad thing about it, I got this on a good offer. At the end of the day, it cost me £330. Now they're usually going for about 425, which is basically well over £150 more than what the RSP is supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to be a £300, well, $300 RSIP, MSRP. So in theory, that's about £250. So we're getting way ripped off, basically, from retailers and manufacturers and God knows who at the end of the day. But it's a great card. Would I recommend a card? I mean, if you've got the £400 to spend, fine. At the end of the day, I won't say no to it. It's a great card. It's quiet. I mean, it's extremely quiet. It's got 2 fans, fantastic. Can't complain at all, really. But yeah, it's a great little machine. It's way smaller than my RX480. And it's way quieter, and it's got way more performance than the RX480. Okay, I think this review on the graphic card and the processors and playing Far Cry is done it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Andy out, and as always, don't forget to subscribe.